Hi, my name is Tori Tucker, and this is my quality of character presentation, and my topic is being detail oriented. Detail oriented, turning the little things into big things. Details are miles in a game of inches. A person who is proactive in creating ideas and is meticulous in daily tasks, taking the time to make sure every task or drill is done correctly. No task is too small or tedious. Being detail oriented is a huge part of our program. For us, something as simple as passing with your outside hand or calling that person's name when you pass them the ball. These are things that we constantly reiterate and focus on in everyday practice. Any game is a game of inches. So being late to get into position to take a charge, it's called a block. Or in a football game, a penalty late that costs yards or costs a score. In baseball, throwing a pitch and missing by inches, and that ends up scoring runs at the end of a game. All of these things are, misses by inches, but they are truly misses by miles. In doing research and really looking into the right Bible verse to add to my presentation, I came across this one and I think it fits perfectly. Let all things be done decently and in order. 1 Corinthians 14:40. It's very simple and to the point, and it says a lot about being precise and correct when doing something. For my example of being detail oriented, I want to talk about one of my all time favorite sports movies, Moneyball. Moneyball is about GM Billy Beane of the Oakland A's. He hired Peter Brand to reconstruct his crumbling organization. They lost some of their big time roster players and faced a tight budget and poor facilities, and they were looking to turn the program around. Peter Brand um, had a formula to generate runs. He didn't need the big time players. He just needed the batting average to get the runs across. And they were able to take a last place in the division team to a team who tied one of the longest winning streaks in Major League Baseball. I was fortunate to go to an A's game in Oakland and see Billy Beane in person, and what the man did with the money he had and the facilities he had is something that I hold very dear to my heart, considering that we at my school had the same situation. We are not a fully funded organization, so we don't have the money for full scholarships, and our facilities are very old, and they need a lot of um, upgrades and things. So I really relate to what he did and what he continues to do. So that was very cool. The next movie that I think fits very right with this presentation is Trouble with the Curve. A Major League Baseball scout, Gus Lobel, who was struggling with poor health but refused to stop working. He brings along his daughter, Mickey, to help him while he's on the road scouting a top baseball prospect. While scouting the prospect, Mickey and Gus notice a slight hitch in the kid's swing, and later in the movie, the kid is drafted by against Gus's better judgment, and Mickey comes back to let them know that he has a hitch in his swing, and she was right. In a man's world, Mickey stuck to what she knew, and she was spot on with it. She caught on to the smallest of things. The kid dropped his hands on the pitch and was swung under and was late on a curve and couldn't hit the ball. And I think that's very true to what it means to be detail oriented. That's something that the other scouts missed and they didn't pay attention to because she really had a knack for seeing the small things and turned it into a big thing. Next, we'll talk about John Wooden, who is arguably seen as the greatest coach of all time in any sport. He was a head men's coach at UCLA. He coached Hall of Fame players like Bill Walton and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. One of his greatest moments and things that I think he's known for and that fits in with this is he took something so small as taking the time to teach his players how to put on socks and how to tie their shoes, and where most people will see that as being irrelevant and a non-factor. He knew that by doing those things and not having blisters on your feet and things done right means you didn't miss games, and those things mattered to him. He's truly a legend. He was known for being kind, and a man of honor. His players loved and adored him. He took the time and the patience to educate these young men on so much more than just basketball, on what it meant to be a good man out of basketball, out of life. And, those men grew to be very successful. And I think as a coach, that's something we all, as an upcoming coach, it's something we all inspire to be like. He took the details of the game, he took the details of just being a good human being, and they all respected him for that. Some points that I think to being detail oriented in the coaching world is every day in the office should be planned and productive. There are tasks that seem tedious and are annoying, but it must be done. And if it was fun things to do, everyone would be doing it. But I understand that like the details are what matters. You can manage, like we manage each individual player. We know where their classes are, what their class schedule is, when they have upcoming assignments due, whether it's a test or anything like that. The small details of making sure that they're told ahead of time what they have coming up that week so that they know what to do and that they're ahead of all their classes. It takes time to put in those things, but we are very on top of that. A quote that I have from the book that really spoke out to me when I read it, and then I continued to put it into this presentation, was successful coaches are prepared and organized. Great coaches plan, persist, learn, and adjust. They set goals, keep looking for methods that will allow them to improve, and continue to visualize the finished product, which is the athlete. And that's such a great quote. Great coaches don't take no or failure for an answer. I think there's always a lesson to be learned, and there's always improvements to be made. Someone always knows more or like does more, works harder, but there's no reason to not push yourself. To be a great coach, we should always be a student of the game, and that's learning the details. That's the small things like the budgets that you have to go through with the money for scholarships and the money for travel, and knowing where every dollar goes. Putting time into community service, planning for travel and meals and buses and things. There's so many things in this coaching world that if you just take the time to focus on the details every day and really set aside a schedule for planning those things, that it makes life and coaching just so much more fun and so much easier. And in my short time of coaching, I've really figured that out through this class and through these courses, that you have to take time and set aside time and just really focus on what you're doing. And this presentation has really shown me a lot. And in conclusion, I haven't been coaching for long, but the one thing that I've learned is my time, matters. There's significance to everything that happens, and the ability to teach my players and get them to understand that no task is too small, even though we may harp on talking, or we talk about, the everybody looks in unison, everybody matches, like those things matter, and those things will matter later in life. When you have to dress professionally and you have to be on time, and being on time is being early, those things truly matter, so much as they may not matter now, and may not understand the point, but it's trying to prepare them for life after. And if they can understand being detail oriented now, then they will carry on to be good human beings later. One of the biggest things that we have tried to implement is taking the time to say please and thank you, and taking the time to hold the door open and look people in the eye and shake their hand, and just to be a kind individual. And if any of the details that they take from us, from me, from our program, is to be a good person, you have to be genuine. And those little things, they really are big things, like I said in the very beginning of this presentation. I want to say thank you and have a blessed day.